Nice to meet you. I'll go
Thank
next.
So yes, Femi, please.
Okay, name is Olufemi Olukoya. You can call me Femi. I coordinate, BEMS Men's Resilience Group. By profession, I'm a computer programmer and a businessman. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So
Okay, I'll go.
yes,
My name
please.
is Fola. Hi, my name is Fola Agu. I live in Sittingbourne. I'm a civil servant. I'm not going to mention the department, so you guys don't come and harass me. I work for I work for the civil service. And what else do you need to know? Yeah, that's just me. I'm just a woman living in Sittingbourne.
Thank you.
Pleased to meet you.
So who else do we have?
We know Mass will not be able to talk because she's in a public space.
Yeah, but we have me. Who else?
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Yemi Oshiyemi. I am an NHS staff working locally here in Kent, and I'm also a Diversity House volunteer, and always willing to promote the charity. Thank you.
Thank you. Great, thank you. I think without much ado, we have to just start and hope that other people will join us if possible. So I'll just quickly say, what do we know about vaccines? What do we know about vaccine? Many of us would have had vaccines when we were young. So vaccines help people develop immunity from viruses. Some of us have taken the flu vaccine. You had, the German measles in those days. So we've had in the past several vaccines that we've had. So this COVID-19 vaccine has not been the first vaccine that we have come across before. So vaccine, what happened is that a vaccine is introduced into your system. It's, a less harmful part of that germ is introduced into the system, into a person's body, and to help the person to build and develop an immune system, so that they'll be able to fight off the virus or the germ that is causing the sickness in the person. So COVID, like we know, is another kind of virus. And so, the vaccine is not, vaccine is not something that has been new in history. So this COVID started, as we know, since we in the United Kingdom started having the impact in the early part of last year. Although in 2019, around December or so, we've been hearing about it happening in faraway countries like in China. But later in 2020, February, March, everybody, it became something very obvious that we have it here. Now, that's just trying to put a little context into this coronavirus, COVID-19 that we are having now. We've seen that it has impacted on many people's life. Many people have suffered. They've lost loved ones. They've lost, people have, family members. They've lost their family members. They lost their colleagues in the places of work. Congregation members in faith communities. So it's something that has, ravaged and caused a lot of challenges in our lives, and but globally too. And thankfully, the vaccine has been, vaccines have been developed quickly, which, in the past, vaccine takes a long time to develop and to be approved. But thankfully, at this time, we have, vaccines that have been, tested and are, approved as very good for people to safely take them. So we all know that. I don't need to tell you, the different names of the vaccines that have been out here. Fola, you have had several people that have taken this, as you rightly said. And I'll come to you to ask you, have you asked them questions later of how they felt about the vaccine? What did I want to say? Let's look at. So this vaccine is being, the vaccine is being taken as an injection. Unfortunately, my husband took the vaccine last Sunday, and he said to me, I actually went with him to take the vaccine, and he was able to drive the car again. I thought I joined him because to Gravesend, because I thought I'll have to help him drive the car back home. But he just entered the car, drove back home, and since then, he's been going up and down, has not said there was anything that has happened. That's the first dose he has taken. This vaccine, you need to take the second dose. Oh, Soji. So we have some people coming in. Do we give, Femi, what do you think? Do we give him time to say something to us?
Yeah, well, yes, we can do that.
Yeah. Hello, Soji, are you with us? Okay, I can hear him. Okay, welcome, Soji. How are you? Nice to see you here. So, but now, since there's the uptakes of this vaccine, and
Thank you.
Hello, Soji. How are you? Are you okay?
Yes, I'm good, thank you. Good afternoon. Sorry, I'm
good
a bit late.
Oh, it's okay, Soji. Please, can you quickly now introduce yourselves to all these good people here?
Okay, hi, good afternoon, everyone. As Sister Christine just said, my name is Soji Adenawa. I live in Sittingbourne, and I work in housing.
Great. Thank you, Soji. Thank you very much for coming here. As you know, this was a very quick call out to our communities. Femi and myself thought that we really need to touch base with all of you to find out what's going on, because of the news that's been going on, that the BEM communities particularly have refused to take the vaccine because of some myth, that we will need to look at this myth today and see if we can collectively, as we are this platform, try to debunk that myth. And we also rub minds together to see how we could go out there and talk to our friends, those in our networks, and also prove, that we are up to the task of coming out and taking the vaccine when it comes to our turn to do that. Okay, thank you. So there's okay, somebody else is here. So there are some fictions, some facts and fictions. These are just some few facts, facts and fictions. Let's see. It's a quiz that I want us to look at. So one of the quiz is this. The vaccine contains genetic materials that will affect our DNA. So do we agree that is true? Is it facts or fiction?
Fiction.
Fiction. So
It's fiction.
yes, great. You're right. It's fiction because the coronavirus uses our cell to replicate itself. That's what some people say. It cannot replicate itself, as it needs our cells to build protein. So you cannot. The fact is that COVID cannot replicate itself.
No.
Yeah, it will not touch our DNA in any form or manner.
And the point is, one
Yes.
vaccine's not going to last. So that you've got to have two.
Yes.
But also there'll be the occasion for you to have one a year.
Just like the winter flu.
Just like the flu. Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's proof. That is proof that it doesn't affect your DNA.
Exactly, exactly. Thank you very much. So another thing that is going around is the vaccine. Vaccines, a type of microchip surveillance. They said it's a microchip. Is it fact or fiction?
Fiction.
So why is it a fiction?
What do you mean? Why is it a fiction?
Yes, is it? Let's say why.
Well, it's people feel as though they're being monitored and followed, observed, and that's
Yes.
why they put that in.
Yes, that's a conspiracy theory. Yes, conspiracy theory that.
I think it would be good for
Yes.
a third option to be introduced to these answers. That is, I don't know.
Exactly.
I think, true or false, or I don't know. I don't know in the sense that would help us to gauge level of education or
Yes.
do you understand? If we gather
Yeah.
statistics that the total number of people on this forum right now, how many of us really know is educated,
Yes.
in terms of these vaccines? So that would help to gather more information, depending on the number of I don't know. So I think I don't know, apart from the common sense aspect, but I think it's relevant to have I don't know as well.
What has happened in China
Okay.
has nothing to do with us.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
some of this story has actually originated in China.
Okay.
Yeah, where they
Yeah.
are actually tracing people. They say that they haven't, but people
Yeah.
feel that they're being traced.
Okay. Yeah. Fola, you raised your hand up.
Yeah, obviously it's another conspiracy theory, but one, we need to understand that if you have a mobile phone,
Yes.
your mobile phone also has tracking abilities on it. So even if people, even if the government wants to track you, they have other means to track you than to insert something in you. Yes, there are countries where they've now started inserting chips into people. I can't remember which Scandinavian country it is.
Yes. Yeah.
But they, so you can use that for your banking, for transport and everything. But we are not there yet. And I don't even see it being introduced here because everybody's going to kick off against it. I think basically the issue with the vaccine, in my opinion, and people can dispute it as well,
Yes.
is because there's a lot of animosity within the BAME community, and the fact that when we had the first wave, the BAME community was really affected. I work within my role in the job I do. I'm also a race advocate.
Yeah.
And one of the things we try to do, or I try to do as a race advocate, is to educate people, not only, the BAME colleagues, or, and also our white colleagues as well, because there's always that myth about, the assumption about what the vaccine is. We've had the debate at work. Obviously, no one is going to be forced to have the vaccine, but the fear within our community that I've understood now is, apart from the conspiracy theories, will be the fact that you may not be employable if you do not prove or provide a vaccine certificate. And is that fear of a loss of job, a loss of a home, that is within the community. Hopefully, those fears or suggestions are unfounded, but it's just to let people, just to create that awareness that, yes, we understand your fears. However, that's not going to happen.
Oh, that's a good, well done. Thank you very much. That's an aspect that I've not had. Oh, thank you for bringing it to light. That's really, really wonderful.
You're
Wow.
welcome.
Thank you. So another thing that people are saying is, and we need to find out, like Femi said, whether yes, true, false, I don't know, is you can become infertile, or the vaccine can cause medical problems. What do we think about that?
I don't know what you mean by medical problems, because sometimes it's just a sheer small pain in the arm. Sometimes people have had a day's diarrhea. Some people haven't had anything at all. So what do you actually mean by that?
Medical problems, that is, it's not like the kind of tiny reactions that you have. Maybe if you unpack it, medical problems could be something that would be detrimental to their health, or to their, very risky for their life, that could even lead to death.
But when you go for the vaccine, they have your information there. If you're through a surgery, if not, they will question you.
Yeah.
So that information is available.
So
it shouldn't.
Yes. Yeah, and the fear when it comes to the fertility aspect. I've spoken to a few people. I do know a few people that have refused the vaccine. My mom lives in North London in Stamford Hill. She went for the vaccine. I think it's because of her she's a retired nurse. So because of her medical background, she's been promoting it within the family. However, I do know other nurses that still work for the NHS that have refused the vaccine, and it's because of the fertility issue, because they're worried that they haven't had children, that it's a new vaccine. We don't know what's going to happen 10 years down the line. Is it going to, is it going to affect a man's sperm count? Is it going to affect a woman's ability to have the right number of eggs or whatever to have the children? So those are for me, those are legitimate concerns. But then again, I think what the government needs to further do is, there's so much conspiracy theories there, and people need to know that they've got a source, a reliable source they can look to, because it's all right listening to those who are already sold out and are not really bothered about what people say, but it's that small minority that have legitimate, because we must not rubbish their concerns. Their concerns are legitimate, but they need to see that it has not affected anyone. So using my mom and my husband as examples, yes, they both had the vaccine. Mom is 80, will be 82 in a few weeks. All she complained of was pain in her arm. And I had to keep monitoring her, because obviously I can't go up to Stoke Newington to have a look at her or to look after her. So we monitored her and she was fine. With my husband, he had the pain in his arm and also a headache. And all of those symptoms or reactions, it was part of the information they were given. That's anyway, because when you get the jab, you have that information. You're told to sit down for 15 minutes. They keep an eye on you. And because of, when the first rollout came out, a few people had, I can't pronounce the word, but that shock, the allergy you have, as if you've got like a peanut allergy. So a few people had that. Based on that, they try to monitor people for at least 15 to 20 minutes before they let them go. For those who have elderly parents, what usually happens, they arrange patient transport. So patient transport will arrange to pick the elderly from home and drop them off at home. And the doctors will monitor, especially when they leave. At least I can speak for my mom, because, it's known that she lives on her own. People were monitoring her. She's fine. She's out. So I'm sorry, Christian. I just needed to let people know that that there are valid reasons why people, if people have had their children and they said, okay, I've closed shop, then that's a different thing. But those who are yet to have children, it's a legitimate concern. I think more needs to be done by the government or those in the, by those in the medical profession to actually reassure people that that's not going to happen. I'll shut up now. Sorry.
No, this is discussion. It's good. It's not about shutting up. It's really interesting. Yes. Did somebody else want to add to what our dear lady has been saying now?
I agree entirely with what's been said, actually. It's a matter of getting that communication out, isn't it? Because the question that you've just posed has actually been presented to AstraZeneca and the others as well. And they say, all the tests they have done has proved nothing like that. But like any new vaccine, you have to sort of test it for a couple of years. So we can only go on the scientific knowledge that they give us, which we must rely on. It's good.
Yes. So the last quiz, or before we get into open discussion to find a way forward, will be that the vaccine have been safely and widely tested across a range of ages and ethnic groups. What do you think about this?
I believe it has, because I know two people that went for the trial. One was a sickler, and she went for the trial because she's a sickler. She did have a few reactions, which they rectified, and she's now taking the full vaccine. So yes, because of knowledge that I know people that have gone through the trials. So they try to cover as many, they try to be as diverse as possible.
I can follow that up, Yemi, actually, because friends of mine have gone through that as well. In fact, they started being tested last September, and the whole regime lasts for 12 months. So there was a variety of ages in that group, as well as ethnicity.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
friends of mine. So.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I was tempted, but I was shut down saying, don't try it. You're not an experiment, but it's worth it. Yeah.
Yes.
You'd have been good, actually. It would have been excellent. You've done that done. We'd have had it here in our debate.
That's really good. So awesome. So that now opens us, to the discussion aspect. Where the discussion being that, as we are doing this now, some groups are having this same session in Medway. Another group is having the same session in London. There's a group of Black British councillors that are hosting this same particular talk, as a national discussion at this time, actually at the same time. So, and I felt rather than joining them, that I need to, we need to do it here locally in Swell. So let's talk now. Let's bring it back to ethnicity, because ethnicity has been an issue right from the first wave of this COVID, whereby we are told that the BEM communities were disproportionately impacted upon, and more deaths has happened in that that community. Also now it's saying that even this current one, that BEM communities are taking up more beds than the other communities. So, and that the Africans particularly are the ones now that are rejecting the vaccine. So, dear brothers and sisters and friends to our community, dear Deputy Lieutenant, what do we say? What's the problem? What can we do? How do we, what can we do to support our communities? And what can we say to them? And say to ourselves also, because we have not taken the vaccine ourselves. How do we buttress, encourage people or build up a courage in ourselves and in those that we care for, so that when it gets to our time, that people will be, confident enough to go out there to take the vaccine. Fola, I give to you because you say you've known people that have taken this. So I pass the ball to you to commence this discussion, and then it's open to every other person.
Christine, what actually happens in your homeland? The vaccine's going out there. So what's happening there?
We don't know first, but what we want to tackle first is here that we are living now.
Yeah, but by focusing on your homeland, surely that helps as well, doesn't it? Because if they're taking that on board, why is there so much obstruction?
No, we will. No, Femi, please go on, Femi. You are muted.
Femi, unmute yourself.
Unmute.
Okay. I was just thinking of something before. You'd have to forgive me. What's the name? It was Mary. Spoke.
Deputy Lieutenant.
And I was thinking about the people. Some of the people I've had conversation with regarding this vaccine, and we had conversation, and the 3 questions sort of came up. And one was around the length of the clinical study, of the clinical trials, that it was cut short, it was cut down, that they were not convinced that enough had been done in terms of, what length that it would normally take a normal vaccine for years. And this one would just rush through. That there's still unclear, ambiguity or unclarity in terms of, what would happen. I think that is, fear. There's certain fear that need to be addressed. That's number one. From people that I've spoken to. And secondly, people are saying that, well, I'm going to take it anyway, because there's more chance of getting killed by the COVID than the vaccine.
Yes.
So just taking it because, I'm not convinced I should take it, but I will take it. There's certain people that I had discussion with that was their conclusion. And the third set of people are talking about, there are 3 variants of, or 3 types of vaccine that is, globally acknowledged right now.
Yes.
That, for Black people, do you know that is this one that will probably not be good for them, that they will give them, that there's something dodgy going on.
Yes.
So they believe that these 3 vaccines, one is better than the other, and those certain will be given to a certain set of people, and specific one that is less likely to have, a better efficacy will be given to, the BAME community.
Yes.
So if you want to put this under one umbrella or 2 umbrella, that will still be, there's this fear.
Yes.
And also, education. So, and distrust, there's a certain distrust, of the government, how they handle things or what's going on. So how do we handle that? I have not taken a vaccine. I've not been invited to take it yet, but with that, having taken it, just as Rosemary was talking about, if it's not happening from, for example, I'm from Nigeria, for example, back then, I don't know if the vaccine is not even available yet anyway. So yes. Unless they import it, they probably import the one from China. So I don't know.
Yeah.
You understand? So, if you have not taken it yourself, you do not have, yes, you can talk from position of, just recommendation, but not because you've not experienced it.
Yes.
So, but people that I've spoken to, those are the sort of concerns, and I think there's fear, there's distrust, and then that unknown stuff. So yeah.
Okay. So great.
For me, I just wonder what the difference is actually when people know the effects on the body if you get COVID, compared to what you will, what you're going to get from a vaccine. Because there are tests under in hospitals where young people have suffered severely and it's affected their heart and everything. Now, if you want to have children, you have a weak heart, you've got a problem straight away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Hello? This is Fola. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes, Fola.
Okay, I think that it's just a basic mistrust of government. If we look at all it's a mistrust of government, which in some cases I understand, and in some cases, while if you have that mistrust, and then what can we do to people to realize that it's affecting my husband had COVID. I have first-time experience of actually having to, because I refused to let him go to hospital because I was petrified. And I saw firsthand how it affected him. Now, COVID affects people differently. I know people that had COVID and they, all they had was a loss of smell or loss of taste, but he had it bad. And I remember someone saying I was irresponsible for not letting him go into hospital. And yes, I accept I was irresponsible, but I was afraid of losing my son because I knew a few people that ended up in hospital and sadly did not make it. So, to God be the glory, he made it. He still has, like most people with long COVID, the exhaustion, getting out of breath. But we're working on that, with the exercises. Now, I say I'm so out to if it's my turn, I'm over 50. And I remember joking with someone, well, I'm older than you, I'm definitely going to get it before you. And we all laughed. But but even with having that joke, she's still undecided. I know people that are undecided, and I have said I would take it because I still understand how it affected my husband. My mom has spoken to me about it because she's a retired nurse. I've spoken to doctor friends, and I've spoken to other people, but I think from day one, there's been a mistrust in the BAME community and the government. And that mistrust is more so because of the PHE report and the first wave, where a lot of BAME, lots of people in the community sadly were affected. COVID affects everybody. COVID is no respecter of race. COVID is no respecter of sex. COVID is no respecter of age. Yes. But what was sadly happening was in the first wave, a lot of Black and Asian people were badly affected. There are still some people that are still in hospital from the first wave.
Yes.
And what we're hearing stories of people that died. And what annoys me is not hearing stories of people that have survived it and are thriving after. Yeah. So all you see is, it's like, you see all numbers and there are thousands and there are hundreds of thousands and you're wondering, oh my God, who is next? For a while, I refused to watch TV because I found it I was fearful. I was living in fear, and it's like, God has not given me a spirit of fear. I need to overcome this. And it was even more so when my husband had it. And I just felt we're all going to die one day. I'm sorry if I sound really morbid. We're all going to die. Nobody wants to die by COVID, which is fine. However, we need to get to that level in our lives where we realize that even before COVID, there were illnesses. There were illnesses before COVID. Even flu. Flu has killed more people than COVID.
Yes.
But because COVID is a new disease, it's making everybody paranoid. But if we do the right things, we will overcome this regardless of your race. So there's no amount of trying to convince. I've reached the conclusion that I can speak about the vaccine. I can speak about the positivity of the vaccine. There's that minority of people that will share. I mean, WhatsApp has got its plus side and its negative side. I've had to block people because of the nonsense they are sharing, telling me this person said after getting the vaccine. Come on. We have allergies. Some people are even allergic to bog standard vitamin C. Some people are allergic to oranges. I have an allergy to aspirin. I can't take aspirin or quinine. So we all have things that we're allergic to, but what we should do is to support one another and say, okay, why are you fearful? What can we do to make things different for you? So for me, what has convinced me, my husband has had it. In fact, when he was going to have it, I said, should I come with you in case you start twitching in the car? Even though I haven't passed my test, I have to have the car. And, we all laughed about it. My mom has had it. When she was going to have it, she spoke to us. My siblings are still umming and eyeing, but I've said, my mom's gone ahead. My husband's gone ahead. Nothing's going to stop me from going ahead. The next people to convince are my children, because they're just looking at, you're the experiment. Let's see how yours turn out. But it's education. And we can't force people to take it. My only concern is the next level would be COVID certificate. If you're going to be employed, you have to have a certificate that says you have taken the COVID vaccine before you're employed. I hope that doesn't. Hello?
Somebody wants to say something.
Okay.
Somebody wants to answer your question there, Fola. Let somebody wants to answer your question, then you can continue. Was it Soji or Femi?
Okay.
Who wants to answer that question?
I think my husband has. My husband has joined us. Let's talk.
Okay.
He's the one that has got
Charles.
the job.
Okay, Charles, gone.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's good to hear this lively chat about what's going on in our country today. I have heard a lot of what people say, and the only contribution I would like to make is that first and foremost, coming from an ethnic minority background, and having lived in this country for so many years, I was an ex-police officer, worked for the Metropolitan Police for 18 years, retired just before the COVID started. And having said that, I've always been on the front line. Subsequently, after retired, now I'm an ambulance driver, so I'm still on this front line. And unfortunately, from my personal experience, I've known close friends, family members who have died from COVID. Notably to say, my brother-in-law, I spoke to him on Friday, and on Monday he died from COVID. He was about the same age with myself. After he died, unfortunately, I caught COVID. I caught COVID and it was really bad. My experience of COVID is something that I'll not wish it on my worst enemy. The reason why I'm saying this, I give glory to God and secondly to my wife for being there when I was down and under. When I had COVID, the worst day of the symptoms was like a man who's drowning and you are down at the bottom of the swimming pool and your lungs is bursting for air. And you know that you can see that there's light on top of the swimming pool, but you can't reach it because your hands and your legs and your arms are very weak. And on that particular day, when I had my worst attack of COVID, I actually could see my late father, who died about 15 years ago, beckon on me to go back. I've not finished what he sent me to do. On that same day, I also saw my late brother, who also died, unrelated, about 10 years ago. And in the midst of it, I was crying for help. I was begging. My lungs were busting. I was in tears. I could not move. But all I could hear from the other side of the door was my wife and my children praying at the top of their voice. If you've ever been to an African church, and you know Africans are very emotional, the way they praise God, they're very, very vociferous. All I could hear my wife saying, "You cannot take my husband away." My children were shouting, "Amen." I could hear it at the inside my brain. And I'm thinking, am I alive? Am I dead? Am I, And finally, to cut a long story short, because I know everyone's got time to say one or two things, I survived COVID. I was home. My wife refused to ask the ambulance to come to pick me up. When I asked her why, she said, "Remember, one of our doctor friends who's in charge of the COVID ward had advised us that if any of us should have COVID, stay at home and try and treat it. If you're meant to die, you die. If you come to the hospital, that the hospital is saturated with COVID in the air. And even the doctors treating people with COVID try to treat you from a distance because they are also afraid of catching COVID." So because of that, I was not taken to the hospital. My bosses called and said, "Look, tell my wife, you got to take him to the hospital. You can see from the way he sounds, he can't breathe, he's struggling for air." In a short while, I survived COVID after about a month and 2 weeks, 6 weeks of being locked up in one room. I can't see my children. I couldn't come out because they were all afraid. Luckily for me, I was in a house whereby it's self-contained in the sense that there's toilet and bathroom. My wife will cover herself with everything, gloves, mask. As soon as she comes out, she gives me food, brings this. She was keeping an eye on me using a mobile phone. So when I finally became okay, I went for another test. They now tested me and said they are now COVID negative. The first thing I did was to run out of my house because I could now move. Imagine being locked up. It's like being in a cell, being in jail, being locked up in one room for 6 weeks. You don't know what freedom is. So I went through that. The next 2 days, I was able to talk. I was willing to walk. The next 2 days, I said to my wife, I said, "Look, better get the solicitors. We need to do my will." Because unfortunately for us Africans, we never think about doing our will. We think we'll live forever. It then occurred to me that I've not put anything in place in case I die. I wanted my children, my family to inherit, to make my last will while I was still sane. So that's in a nutshell. When I put my will in place, I got my family, everybody now knows what's gonna happen. But the final thing I want to say before I leave this thing is that working as an ambulance driver, and in fact, conveying people who have COVID, conveying people going to Medway Hospital, at the worst day when we had the highest amount of people die in this country, in Medway Hospital, all you could see at that night between, I think it was from 11 o'clock at night to about 4 o'clock in the morning, it was a constant stream of ambulance vehicles bringing people who had COVID constantly, non-stop. And it occurred to me that not everybody being brought into the hospital was going to go back home alive. I just wept and I hope people who think that this is a joke will realize that human beings are actually dying. I wept because I saw people being brought in, constant streaming of. In fact, this country is blessed in the sense that we have the ambulances, we have the paramedics who are there day and night. While other people are busy sleeping, having a nice time, they are constantly going to remote places, bringing human beings to be treated and risking their own lives. So when the opportunity came and they said, okay, frontline of people, the NHS workers, You can come and take your vaccine. I was the first person to jump up, and I've had my vaccine. I was within the 10 million people that received their vaccines, and I'm grateful. I cannot wait to have the second jab. Anybody who doesn't want to take it, good luck to them. I've said to my family, I want to live. Life is sweet. Come out and look at the snow and you see that it's beautiful. You go shopping and you see people, and for you to just suddenly find out that because of your carelessness or stupidity, or because you think, oh, the Black people are ethnic, or this, if you have an opportunity to save yourself, save yourself. My sister-in-law, the husband died. She's like struggling in the sense that, oh, car insurance, MOT, because the husband has always done it. So let's just not take things for granted. This country is blessed in the sense that we have the vaccine. If you have an opportunity to take it, jump at it. Other countries that don't even have it. So for my listeners out there, I don't get anything from any of this publicity. I'm just saying it to save another life. So if you have an opportunity to take it, don't even blink. Take it as quickly as possible. Because we all have underlying health issues. We don't know what we have. So people think it's only people who have cancer, or people who have a liver problem, or people who are going for dialysis that got the health issues. We all have different amount of issues within our system we don't even know. So if an opportunity comes for you to take it, take it. There was a woman who I knew who took this vaccine on the day so many people took it. Before they brought the vaccine to her, she already fainted. When they spoke to her over and over again, she said that she's afraid of needles. So you can imagine, even before the injection touched her, she's fainted. So a lot of people have fear of, some people eat nuts and they react to it. But this is something I've gone through tests and tried. If you don't want to take it, good luck to you. I've had mine and I cannot wait to take the second jab. Thank you all for listening, and I wish everybody all the best.
Thank you.
Very impressive, very impressive story. Thank you.
Charles is so powerful, very, very powerful and moving. So if anybody will listen to this and think that it's a make-up story, that is something to be, laughing about. It's not a laughing matter. It's very serious. You've had from a lived experience, somebody with a lived experience. Femi, you wanted to
Christine, why don't you start something like this? Why don't you have an online that folk can actually go to and hear those stories?
Yeah, this will be online. Femi, we're going to put it online. That's why it's being recorded. It's part of our contribution, yes.
I think,
and you set up a site where folk can come in and actually talk to you as well as listening to these.
Yes, I will come to that. Let's Femi, you've been wanting to say something.
I just wanted to say that, listening to Charles' story, that's a very powerful, engaging story.
Yes.
I think you should make a video of yourself, of your story. You sounded so convincing, that seriously, I think you should make a video, and I think your video will save thousands, if not millions of lives.
Honestly,
for people that are on the fence, that weren't sure, they will hear your story. For people that have not had COVID, that will say, okay, we'll take it. They will hear, I think you've got a story to tell, and you told it in a very powerful way, very, very convincing, and I'm in a very emotional way, and I think you should do that.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. About all that thing I'm gonna say, let those who have ears hear.
Yeah.
You don't want to be a victim and become statistics. Thousands are dying and thousands are still dying. If you have an opportunity, take it. If not, good luck. I wish you all the best in life. I've had it. I'm scared. Like I said to you, the first thing that I did was come out of 6 weeks of being locked up in a room. I wanted to stretch my legs. My wife said I was like a little kid who's been given candy. You don't know what freedom is, for you to walk up and get up and move around and get fresh air. Second thing I did, when I had enough energy, I said to my wife, call a lawyer, my will is now in place. I never thought I would ever think about having a will. Because in those days, my will says have a will. I'm thinking, why do you want to have a will? Do you think I'm going to die today? Today it's in place. It is in place for your own sake. You don't want the family to be at the cost of your funeral. Make sure you have all these things in place. I don't have anybody to recommend to you. Make your inquiries online, but please sort yourself out. Life is too short. You might not die of COVID, might by an accident, but like my wife said, we all die of something, but don't wait until you're 6 feet below before you realize it. Well, thank you guys. I got to go. All the best, and thanks a lot for the opportunity.
Thank you, Charles.
Good to hear you, Charles. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we have Pastor David is here, I think. Pastor David. I think he was with us. Is he still with us?
I can see a David online. I'm not sure if that's Pastor David.
Okay. So can David introduce himself to us? Oh, David, could you introduce yourself to us, please?
This is David Okodoa, not Pastor David.
Okay. Okay, David. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you.
That's all right.
Thank you. Yeah. So
I've got something else to say, please.
Yes.
And this is from a point raised earlier. I think it was by Fola or somebody that was talking about the certificate will probably be required for people to be employed. You know, I've heard rumors as well. I think government needs to clear out. I mean, need to clear that with no ambiguity whatsoever. To say, okay, but if that is going to be the case, then government should mandate vaccine. You understand? So government should not sit on the fence. If that is going to happen, they know, look, a time comes where for you to, that this may, we're not 100% sure, but it would happen because everybody wants to, every employer wants to remain safe. So if you're going to be required to produce certificate to show that you've had this vaccine, then government as well mandate it to everybody, because otherwise you then become unemployable in the future because you've not, we don't know what's going to happen. But some countries are already discussing this, vaccine passport and other stuff.
Yeah.
And look, things always start with a rumor. Sometimes I believe that government throw these things out themselves to hear people's opinion. That's my personal belief.
Yeah, that's right.
So they just, throw it out. So, and then it then becomes a policy. So I cannot see why, for the safety of the entire nation, why vaccination or vaccine cannot be mandated. Cannot be made compulsory. I cannot see why. Because the government is like, in charge of everybody, so to say. Yes, we're in a free world, but this is, if it affects one, it affects the economy, it affects so many other people. So in a way, I think it should be made compulsory. I think so. That may be another debate of another thing,
Yeah, you've said something. Let me now bring it to the open, because you said government should make it mandatory. Do you think that I'm being politically correct? By saying BME people don't want to take it. Why not make it mandatory, like you said? What do you think? Fola is raising her hands up. Fola, go on, Fola, say something. Yeah, Fola, you're raising your hands up.
Yes, I disagree. Oh, sorry about the rustling. I disagree with making it compulsory. And the reason being is that we are not in a dictatorship. If we are in a dictatorship, then we will not even be having these debates. They'll be dragging us, screaming and kicking and jabbing everybody regardless.
Yes.
However, I think, and then you also have to think of people that have certain allergies, and there are certain people that will not be offered the vaccine anyway because of whatever health histories they have. However, making it compulsory sounds like a good idea, but it's a bad idea in the sense that it means we'll be going towards totalitarianism, dictatorship, and this country is a democracy. And yes, it makes sense for all of us to have the vaccine. But you also have to remember that it's not everybody that put their children forward for the MMR jab.
Yeah.
Even up until this day.
Yes.
I know, I mean, all my children have had the vaccines. They were shocked when I told them. They said, Mom, you mean you allow them to jab? I said, yeah, they jabbed all of you till, you know, there was no jab childhood vaccines. I recently just had the flu vaccine for the first time. And it was only because, you know, I turned 50 and then I was told at work that a lot of us should try and get the flu vaccine. There was a promotion and encouragement work. It's not compulsory, but I think for making it compulsory, it's just going to result to anarchy. You can see there were already riots by the or protests by the anti-vaxxers as we have it already. We can only educate people. If people do not want to be educated, sadly, there's nothing more we can do. The government may want to make it compulsory by bringing in legislation, but I don't see MPs voting for that kind of legislation, because even amongst the MPs, I can't remember this particular MP's name, amongst the MPs, you have anti-vaxxers as well. And there was a particular MP whose name escapes me now, who was asked to apologize by Michael Gove. And this MP has refused because he's not promoting the vaccine. So even amongst themselves, it's just not going to work 100%.
I entirely agree with that, actually. That's very
as a
true.
community
But
and as individuals, regardless of what your ethnic background is. Yeah, go on.
That's very true. I agree with everything you're saying. I just wonder how some employers will treat this. That's something you can't control.
Not be able to. Yeah. No, you can control it. It's under the what legislation? Under the relevant employment legislation. There is no, obviously we are no longer part of the EU, so you know, all the legislation is done will be focused on the legislation goes against discrimination, because people will say they're being discriminated again because they haven't had the vaccine. However, I know testing for some jobs, because they're like front facing.
Yes, that's right.
Testing is is compulsory. Like those, I have a few friends who work in care homes. They have to be tested. Teachers are constantly being tested. So I think it depends on the nature of the jobs where they'll make
I agree with that. But yeah, but I didn't mean by that some employers will make it compulsory. I think they will use encouragement.
Yes.
Which is what has happened in some of NHS, for example. By being strong encouragement, you can get more people vaccinated that way, but it doesn't become a law. I mean, that would be very much against the democracy of this country.
Okay, Femi, you have your hands raised, Femi.
Yeah. I mean, I just wanted to clarify a point that my point was a question, really, to say, if there's a discussion or a talk about providing or for employability of people that that has not been vaccinated or not maybe producing a card or not, that why would the government not then make it compulsory? It's just a question out there. But if that is going to happen in the future, and something similar may happen in the sense that in the future, employers may start to ask people, may start to raise the health and safety question about other people that have been, vaccinated within the company. That, okay, if you're not being, they would encourage you to get vaccine, get the vaccine if you're not being vaccinated. But, and if you refuse, what is going to happen to your employment? So I believe that there's still a lot of unknown in terms of, legislation and, health and safety and employment law that would ensue as a result of all these things that's currently happening. So what we can do is to, from Charles's story and many other stories like that people that have had this experience, albeit bad experience, but they are good, they've got good stuff to say about the experience, thank God, that, we can only encourage people to get the vaccine. But in the future, the government or, individuals, companies may ask you to provide proof of the vaccination before you gain employment. And I think that would happen. I think.
Femi, can I just say to that that countries
Hello.
abroad are using it already, aren't they? That you can't actually enter their country unless you've got the documentation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
But
let's
you know that
quickly.
even with that documentation, you can also have a fake documentation.
Well, that's
Just to put a finger in the works. Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
I'm sure we are running out of time. Let's quickly, because the idea is the urgency of trying to see what we can do with the BEM people from the BEM community. What do we do to encourage them to go out there? I know child's story is a very powerful one, but what can we do to make sure that people of BEM community actually start taking, if they've not thought about taking the vaccine, that they should take the vaccine or encourage their loved ones or people in their networks to take this vaccine? What do we do? Somebody raised, do we have a raised hand? Femi, did you raise your hand?
Yeah, I did raise my hand. You know, I just want to make suggestion based on your question. One is, you know, we start from education, you know, like, you know, through videos like Charles is, you know, suggesting to Charles to make, and other people like that. And also through places of faith, you know, people have been somewhat, you know, there are lots of religion out there. People go to church, mosque, name it. Through, there has to be targeted, you know, campaign, advertising campaign to encourage people, you know. So, and I think that is the starting point. Education through, you know, word of mouth, through, you know, groups like this. So, but through personal stories, you know, as we heard from Charles, that was such a powerful story. You know, if you love your family, if you love your children, if you love yourself, you know, once you are gone, you are gone. Someone that's dead, they don't even turn in the casket. You can't even turn around that your back is hurting. You understand that? It's impossible. So you have to paint the picture. We all have to become storytellers, you know. And if you can tell the story, in you know, as good as we had this afternoon, you know, we'll be convinced.
Yeah.
Fola,
and those stories can go online, but they can also be pulled together in some sort of video presentation to actually, for churches, places of worship to share. And put in, because you can't always have the person themselves there, but we've got the facilities, haven't we, to spread it across the whole of Sittingbourne.
Yes.
So would you have a workshop as well? Would you have workshops, Christine?
Yeah, part of what we're going to do is that during this census that we're going to do, it will be an opportunity also to create awareness. So we will be having clips that will be playing in the center that anybody, because the center will be on appointments only, because we don't want many people to be rushing there. So it will be on a one-to-one appointment. And so when they come, the whole space is for them, and there'll be this video, you know, information clip that will be playing in the background, and they will listen, and you know, and then we can put time. We'll have fact sheets also that they will take along when they're going back home, you know. So things like that.
Well, you certainly heard a lot of facts. You've heard a lot of facts this evening, actually. I mean, they're excellent, actually, the representatives there this evening. They could be put together, certainly, on those. But where would you have your centre? Because it's no good having just one place.
No, I'm not the local authority or NHS. We will use our centre that we have already to you know, disseminate the words, you know, the information and create awareness. But as Femi said, the places in the faith communities is also very important. They have a role to play. So that's why I'm surprised that we sent the link to some, you know, not just the Christians, but also those from other faiths.
The Muslims,
other faiths, yes.
And the doctors as well. We have NHS here, I know, but what about other doctors?
It was short term. Don't forget,
Yeah.
this time yesterday. So people online here, I mean, they've even done so well to attend. So
exactly. So, but this is not a one-off thing. This is not one-off. We will also continue because changing behavior is not a one-off thing. You keep, sounding, you keep repeating yourself because behavioral change is difficult. We welcome Adiola to this group. So yes, Fala, you have you raised your hand, didn't you?
Hi, sorry, it's Fala back here. I think with I know for the church that I attend, our pastor has mentioned it that when the vaccine comes, he's definitely going to take it because he's aware that people in the congregation are having that debate as well. And I know a number of churches. I think maybe it was across all religious organizations, but from the knowledge I have, I know a lot of churches had like a town hall meeting. So that's church across London or a particular region anyway. So they had something like a town hall meeting with cabinet office.
Yes.
So I know somebody mentioned it, but I don't have the details to that. But one thing I do know is that I know there are efforts across the churches to try and speak to their congregation about it. It is a struggle, but a few ministers have actually gone public to actually show themselves being, having the injection, the vaccine, to encourage their congregants about it. But I have to be completely honest, it will always be a struggle because of the distrust within the community. And we as individuals on this call can only do our best to speak to those in the community and beyond to actually say, yes, we hear you. Yes, we know what your concerns are, but what is the alternative?
Great, thank you.
Because
what's causing this mistrust anyway? Why this mistrust amongst our communities?
It's down to it's to do with the first wave. The first wave messed up a lot of people. Because the first wave, nobody knew what to do, nobody knew what was happening. And those who were working on the front line bore the brunt of it. They were the first people that were, that went forward because, our community, we like overtime.
Yes.
So, if there's the opportunity to work extra hours, people were working extra hours, but not realizing that in working extra hours, they were putting their own lives at risk.
Yes.
And now, people were just doing what they thought they could do that was right, because they had a family to look after. And there's that accusation or that school of thought in inverted commas that because the BAME community are not seen or not known, that's the assumption, which is a wrong assumption, to exercise or to look after themselves. And because they fall within the category of people that have certain illnesses like high blood pressure, diabetes, and all the other underlying health issues. So the only way forward, as we all seem to agree, is education. They're really, we can only educate, we can only share information and let people be. And for me, that's what I've been doing. And I actually spoke to an aunt last week and she goes, well, I believe all the conspiracy theories. I am not taking it. I am not doing anything. The government cannot control what goes into my body. I was like, fine, auntie, that's your opinion. Just let my mom has had it. My husband has had it. And nothing's happened to them. So I'm definitely having it. And she goes, good luck to you, but I ain't having it. So in order not to have an unnecessary argument, I just had to respect her wishes. So there will be people like that. You can only share, you can't make them do it. If we lived in a country where if we lived in a country like China, for instance, we will not be having this conversation. Everybody would have been jabbed.
No, we wouldn't. No, that's right.
Yes. So great. Yes, Rosemary. Yeah. Did you want to say something?
Christine, can I just ask? You said you were going to carry out a census.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What do you mean?
No, the national census that is happening soon.
I see. Okay. Census. You weren't going to do one yourself.
No.
I got a bit worried, actually.
No,
okay.
It's the national census now. Okay. So, Femi, did you raise your hands again?
Yes.
Okay,
I saw
please.
that Adiola did raise their hands before, but maybe they changed their mind. Anyway, what I was going to say was one of the ways by which we can get through to people to encourage people to get, to create awareness is to create a very powerful flyer.
Okay.
To be distributed to all the houses in Swale, for example, through the post office. I know it's possible.
Yes.
That requires funds or whatever, but that can be done. If we can get a very strong message, at least we are guaranteed that all the houses will receive a copy.
Yes.
But the work has to go into the message. The message has to be so emotionally intelligent that can get through into people's hearts. You understand?
Yes.
So that's, whoever's got those artistic skills can do that with strong wording. But that alone, every house will get a copy of that. Or for example, in Iwood, where I live, we do receive a local magazine, for example, that people advertise businesses, and so we have to use every medium possible to get across to people through digital, through non-digital, through the videos, and so on and so forth. It's all about education. It's all about education, and you got to tell the story. You got to make people realize what they stand to gain and what they stand to lose.
Yes.
If you love yourself, take this. It gives you better chance of survival than and achieving your full potential than dying unnecessarily. The opportunities are there, so take the chances. So that's just another way that I think we could get across to people.
Okay, that's a very good suggestion. There are, you said Adiola and Fola. So is Adiola there that wants to say something, or Adeyemi and Fola? So which of you want to kick off again?
I think what Fola has already said makes sense, because there is an awareness in churches and things in terms of how we need to go about it. But I was thinking the stumbling block was when initially Boris says the first test is going to be done with the ethnic minority. So I think that's why the block was, because everybody believed that we're going to be the guinea pig first.
Okay.
I think that was why they I think that was what actually caused the people not wanting to take it first, maybe. That's what I think.
Oh, wow. That's another, you've now brought another perspective to this. Actually, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, so, that was when the first pandemic started, and when they said once the vaccine comes, we're going to be the first people who have to take it first.
Oh yeah. So
I think that was why people say, okay, probably going to be the guinea pig to see what happens first. So, and I also think people are also wary in terms of like with vaccine, when the way it reacts in ethnic minority in the next 5 years, you can never tell what did they actually did they test it in or law, because because of the testing as well. Then they also say lately people who've got allergy reaction to medication. So these are all things that has come to light, and I've been in a couple of forums as well, which has a lot of ethnic minority, and some people say they have people that have taken it and they that does not make that they after taking it they actually cut it twice. So those are the type of things that maybe somebody who is in a household that has had somebody taking it and they've caught COVID as well. So that means that does it actually result to us once we take it? Are we going to start walk back? Are we going to back to our normal life? That's another thing people are also battling with as well in terms of emotional, because people have taken it and people have died as well. They don't know whether it's a COVID or it's because of the vaccine as well. So I think it's a lot. And lately they were talking about the Oxford one, that the new variants that is not going to be a fiction to the new variants. So I watched recently, they took the Oxford got down to one country, but at the moment they can't use it because they say it's not efficient to the new variant. So is it going to be, you know, and then another thing, my dad is taking it. I have a couple of families who are elderly of taking it, but they're supposed to be, when you take the first dose, you're supposed to take the second dose within a particular month.
Yeah.
Right now, Britain is saying no because they want to make sure they vaccinate everybody. So my families who are doctors are now saying it will not work if they're going to do that. So that's another thing they need to look into. Are they going to vaccinate the people who have taken? Are they going to make sure they get it when they're supposed to get it? Then another thing was that they said some people have taken the Pfizer one. So they're talking about taking the second dose. Is it going to be the same vaccine? Are they going to give them a different one?
Yeah.
Those are the questions that from forums I've been on to, which it also enlightened me to so many things that is, you know, not everything, you know, but when people talk about it, then I do my research, I check things as well. So those are the type of feedback I know that is come up to light.
So that's really wonderful because we're, as BEM community people, we are, putting this in the open now. So some of these things you have said now that you brought to the light need to be answered. So the government needs to clarify some of these things to assuage some of the fears that we may have. So like everybody has been saying here too, education, 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 transparency, people come out and tell us the right thing. Answer the question so that people will be confident enough to go out there and take the risk to take the vaccine. So who else? Soji and other people here. Do we have other people, new people that want to add to this conversation? We have just 10 minutes to go.
And I have a question though, please.
Okay. Yeah.
And the question is there any published data that tells the story of, the vaccine, people's reaction, to the vaccine, post, getting vaccinated? So is there any government portal where we can see, visualization, visualize data, okay, of the statistics of people, what's happened to people, BEM people and non-BEM people, So because I think that may be missing. I'm not sure.
Yeah, if you go to NHS, there's this NHS England, and if you go to NIR or so, just go to NHS England and go to Gov website. You will also see some information. They're talking about the allergies, they're talking about some experiences, and they're also trying to debunk some myths also. So Fola may have something else also to add to what I've said. Fola, do you want to have something to add?
Yeah, it was just to say that there's a video going around within the Nigerian community where you have a group of Nigerian doctors that have come together to try and dispel the myth. And so actually, some of them have got recordings of them actually receiving the vaccine, and others have got evidence of receiving the vaccine. So, I know because there's that awareness within the Nigerian community as well. I don't know about other communities, but I don't know if I've deleted the video, because when it was sent to me, I smiled and said, well, they're preaching to the converted.
Yes.
But it's a good thing. It's a good thing to, you might want to put it, put it on your website.
Yes.
If I can find the video, I will share it to you as well.
Yes,
but it's by a group of Nigerian doctors. There's an association for Nigerian doctors that work within the NHS that have done that. I don't know about, as I said, I don't know about other communities. But all I wanted to end with is to say thank you for the opportunity to be able to contribute and to share with everybody. It's quite interesting, but we have a long way to go. I don't want to sound really, what's the word? What's the opposite word of optimistic? Anyway, whatever. I don't understand.
Pessimistic.
Yeah. See, I'm trying to be optimistic and I can't get the opposite. Yeah, I don't want to be too. I want to be as optimistic as possible. But we already know, sadly, over the years, a few things have happened and people are a bit suspicious. And that's why I'm thankful that I'm in a position at my place of work that I'm a race advocate and I can try to dispel the myth as much as I can and educate people on both sides. So it is interesting. So thank you for the opportunity to speak.
And thank you very much for honoring our call, even if it's a short notice. Yes. So anybody have any other closing remark before we call it a day?
Well, I would like to say that we should just keep going and keep pushing on, keep, telling the story, trying to encourage ourselves and others to do the needful, and in this case, is to take the vaccine.
Great. Yes, Rosemary, yes, please.
I'd like to know, I have another meeting actually, I just want to follow up on the action that's going to be taken. We just could do something. And in the charity of which you are CEO is an ideal one to take it through Sittingbourne and Swale.
Okay, everybody here in this platform, they are all members of churches and are very proactive in their churches also. So, and I believe that, that we all here will do our best to be our brothers' keepers, because that's what we do. A Christian religion tells us that we should be our brothers and sisters' keepers.
So but I want to know what Diversity House is actually going to do as well, because
we've started already. And like I said to you, Diversity House does not work in isolation. So we work with everybody and our communities and the diverse communities also. So even though that we are saying the BEM people should take vaccine, we also urge the other people that, because it's not just the BEM people that are, being skeptical about taking vaccine. There are other people from other communities that are also skeptical. Yeah. So we also have to urge everybody in our communities to take the vaccine. And I've told you one good way, education. Femi suggested something that we were also thinking about is to also do translated fact sheets, very powerful awareness leaflets that will go into all, using the Royal Mail, that will go into all the houses in Swale here. And we also use the food bank thing that we do in collaboration with other food bank centers to share, put flyers in the boxes that people will be collecting. So there are different channels that can be used.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So we can have another meeting to see how well it's going then?
Yeah, definitely we will. We will by the grace of God. Yes. Mm-hmm. So, Fola, you wanted to say something before we say, goodbye?
No, it was just that I will call you. I'll take it offline, but it was just to work with you on creating an action plan. So even if it's just a 3-point action plan that we can hold ourselves to, because yes, you're a charity. You also have to know that whatever you're doing it in tandem with current government regulations and working hand in hand with the local authority as well. Because I'm sure the local authority will want to utilize your charity to target our community. To actually say, help is on, help is on hand. How can we? So I can work with you on drafting something like that.
Great. Thank you very much for putting yourself forward. I appreciate that.
No worries. You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you very, very much. So on this note, I will say thank you for everybody in this platform, and watch the space. We're not going to give up. There'll be changes. Thank you very much. Thank you. So see you next time.
Okay, Christine, thank you. I'll be in touch.
Okay.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, before we go, Femi, please do talk about, just give brief information about the course that will be happening in March, so that those in this platform can take it away briefly and start sharing it, if possible.
Well, it's a workshop for the youth about mental health, their mental states during this, basically, how they're coping during this COVID period, and then, how things are, just to a down to earth, workshop session where to encourage the young ones to open, their heart with a counselor, with professional counselor that's a specialist in the area of mental health and mental well-being. So there will be it's going to be a 12-hour session over a period of time. So the first session of such is coming up March 27. So we'll send out information about that. And yes, so that is that. I was going to say before you said your last statement that with the BAME Men's Resilience Group, I would like to get to meet Charles if you can either give me his contact details to come and talk to us, my COVID experience and then my vaccination.
That would be wonderful.
Like so it just comes to mind that I can organize that for the men within the community. So that we have a special guest who will be Charles, if he will be happy to do that, because he's got the experience and he's taking the vaccine. So to come and speak to men, and then so that's on the side. But so on what you asked me to speak about, the 27th of March, for our young people, for our youth, we had one of such events last month, talking about the youth and financial empowerment for our youth. And in March, it would be about their mental well-being, during this COVID period.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate that. So, and see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Well done. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye. Okay. Maz? Oh, you okay?
Yeah.